This is Tim with Redoubt News, and we're at the Capitol, where we're going to have an announcement here in just a few minutes regarding the candidacy for Governor of Montana, and we'll see what the new candidate that's making his announcement today has to say to the people of this great state.
Historic day in Montana history. For some of you, you'll be able to tell your grandkids where you were on this very significant day. Now, there were hundreds of people who wanted to come up to this podium and say great things about Dr. L, but we've shortened that to just a couple who had that great opportunity. Up first, let's hear from the Senate Majority Leader out of Stevensville, Mr. Fred Thomas.
Well, you're very kind to be here. Thank you for that nice, warm welcome. This day is not about me whatsoever. It's about the future of Montana.
Yes.
And I am just delighted to attest for one of our very, very best in the legislature, easily calling Senator Olszewski a rising star. He's been that way for years here in our body in the House and now in the Senate, and somebody that I rely on just a great deal. Our story started a ways back. He's helped me with resolutions dealing with healthcare issues and weighty issues having to do with disease research. We did the Right to Try bill the first time long ago, and I couldn't have done it without him. You know that this is one of the finest people in this state.
Yes.
He's a family man. He is definitely a man that I admire and I trust to the hilt.
Thank you, sir. Up next, from Missoula House Majority Leader, Mr. Brad Cheetah.
They say that brevity is the soul of wit, so there will be no wit right now. I'm going to take a little bit longer than my good friend from the Senate did. It's a great honor and privilege to be part of this announcement today. While I've been blessed to make tremendous friendships in both the House and the Senate during my legislative services, one of those relationships has borne much more fruit than others, and that would be with Dr. Olszewski. Al and I share some striking similarities. We're both children of families of 7. He happened to be number 1, so he had to be the compliant. I was number 2, so I'll leave it up to your imagination where that was at. Both of our fathers installed flooring, and that's what they did to pay for the bills that 7 kids would accumulate for a family like that. Montana is once again at a crossroads, perhaps a more critical junction than we've ever seen. For 16 years, the citizens have been held hostage to executive regimes that continue to spend money we don't have on programs we don't need. For the past 8 years, we've had a disconnected executive. Given the expansion and growth of government, lack of accountability in numerous departments, including outright obstruction on the parts of some, there have been secretive settlements, myriad other disordered actions. So Montana needs a governor who will return state government to its rightful role of being a servant to the taxpayers in the state, not someone who allows to continue down a path of socialism. Montana needs someone who knows the needs of Montanans, who understands Montana values, lives by Montana principles, and seeks to serve Montana citizens, not to be served by them. Montana deserves a governor who will put the citizens of the state first, as opposed to what we've experienced the last 16 years. Montanans are dissatisfied with our current tax and spend trajectory and demand someone who will truly take steps to make government more fiscally efficient and will return us to the focus of constitutional principles upon which Montana was founded. While being a native son is not an imperative, we have such a person and more. We have a man who loves his God, his family, and his country, especially his home state. He has served her in the military, in his medical profession, and in his public service for 6 years as a legislator. We have the opportunity to redirect and refocus the constitutional duties of state government in Montana. We have a chance once again to make Montanans proud of their leader and of her future. Because of these needs and desires and the tremendous opportunities before us, it is a great opportunity, and I take great pleasure in introducing to you my friend and the next governor of Montana, Dr. Olszewski.
You know, I love this state, and I love the people of this state. And, you know, as a doctor and a surgeon, what I appreciate is that if you're going to love this state and enjoy it to its fullness, you have to have your health. And whether you live in Kalispell or you're from Rocky Boy Reservation, you know, every Montanan deserves quality health care, affordable health care, and the opportunity to have affordable health care insurance. You know, that is what caused me to step out of the comfort of my operating room. You know, as an advocate for health care, so that Montanans can have what's a common good, should be a common good for our state. You know, I advocated at this Capitol for many years. In 2013, I asked a then freshman Representative Alan Redfield, I said, hey, what is the way that I can have the most impact in helping create affordable health care and make sure it's available to all Montanans? And he looked at me and he said, oh, where is he? He said, well, Doc, he said, what you need to do is get skin in the game, get elected, and lead the way. You know, now as one session in the House and almost finishing my second session in the Senate, we collectively have been able to have an influence and an impact on healthcare. The problem is that it's still falling short. We can do better, and we should do better. So, with the encouragement and the endorsement of everybody behind me, and basically over 30 legislators, you know, I am honoring and I am willing to announce that I am your next candidate for governor of this great state of Montana. I love these guys. I'll tell you. We love you. So what are my three reasons to run? Number one is that in order for us to really conquer the problems and the crises of our state, we need to reset government and our relationship between the governor's office and legislature. Because I will tell you that one of our biggest frustrations that I've seen in the last 3 sessions is that the legislative branch is merely tolerated for 90 days and ignored for 2 years until the next session. And that's got to stop. Amen. If we can rebalance that relationship to where the legislature and the governor's office works as co-equal partners in governing, then now we can fight and conquer opioid addiction. We can and fight and conquer suicide, mental health problems. We can and should fight and be able to take care of healthcare and make it affordable, right? Number two, the reason, well, my core reason I became a representative and a public servant is about affordable healthcare. So this session, you know, I brought a bill that would make it that if you paid for your healthcare, you would get a refundable tax credit for it. Because we know that if you truly pay for your health care, you can't afford it. And if the government pays for your health care, you have no control over it. You know, and so for this part, if you're paying for your health care, then we're going to make sure that you're paying with pre-tax dollars, not post-tax dollars, and so that we can find a way to make that easier and more affordable. You know, we're also going to fight and we're going to work on the costs of medicine, not just about access to health care, but the costs. And we did that starting this year with working on the low-hanging fruit. How do we make medicines less expensive? And I commend the fact that we have Senate Bill 71 that's going to be heard in the House today. We need to make sure that the monies that are spent are only for medicine and not to support multi-billion-dollar companies.
Yes.
And you know, and that also goes for those organizations in our state
that have high cost. Because what we have done so far with healthcare in my last 3 sessions here, along with my compatriots, is that healthcare is profitable for some, free for others, and it's very, very burdensome for most. And that's got to stop, and we've got to fix that. As your governor, we will work on that. And the third reason to run. Remember I said that, you know, living in Montana it takes a special type of person. We're here at the expense of what we can make economically, maybe the way we could live, especially when it's 30 below. But we do that because of the scenic beauty and the rugged splendor of Montana. And you cannot enjoy that unless you have access to the public lands for hunting, fishing, and recreating. So, you know, we're going to fight and defend our public lands, but we're also going to open up the access to our public lands like we're doing with the Public Access Lands Act that we have this year. The truth is we're not getting any younger in the state of Montana. So if you want to enjoy this state, you know what? If you want a backpack with 50 pounds on your back with freeze-dried food, we have a place for you. If you want to go snowmobiling, we're going to have a place for you. And if you need to use a 4x4 or a side-by-side to get to that lake that your grandparents took you fishing, well, we're going to tear down those gates. We're going to let you come on through, and you take your grandkids fishing where your grandfather took you. That's what we're going to do. So the truth is that we're not done with the session. And I promise you that we're not going to be distracted after this announcement. We're going to go back in that beautiful building with Lady Justice on top. And what we're going to do is we're going to finish out this session hard, and we're going to fight for the people of Montana. After that, I will go and tour the state, a listening tour. And here's the deal. In order to start this process 6 years ago, I had to have the consent of my patients and my family. To start this process, I had to have the consent and endorsement of everybody behind me. And in order to be your next governor, I will need and will require the consent of the people of Montana, and we will do just that. So thank you very much for coming. It's a beautiful day, and spring is right here. Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, can I see my family come up here? I have some kids, my dad.
I gotta go down there and do it.
You know, once again, it takes a family to raise someone like me, and it's going to take a state to make me governor. But first, it's my family. Can I see my family up here? Come on, Steve. The truth is I have over 54 cousins across the state. We should be able to win just on the family vote alone. And I have some other family. I just want to know, Kathy, your family, get over here. This is my nurse. You know, I can't do anything without Kathy. Even in retirement, she's still my nurse. Are there any questions before we go inside? First of all, we're going to run on something to do great things. We're not going to run against anybody, and we're not... And we're going to make sure that this is a positive, constructive campaign, and we're going to transition it to a positive, action-based administration. Yes. And then finally, we are here because we don't believe that you can be anointed a governor. You have to be elected governor.
That's right.
All right.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Randall.
Real quick. We have a big problem in Montana with the people feeling that they've been ignored. And what I'm asking you as governor, I know it's not a sole job of just the governor, it's our representatives that are standing behind you and offices across the state. One of the things we need to fix is a solution, and can you come up with something that will help us get the people back in charge, because that's who you will be working for.
You know, and fundamentally, you know, what the problem that we've seen is that in the name of transparency, everything has gone dark and opaque. We've seen it, and that's got to